Logo, Bureau of Land Management. Title, The Pony Express, Digging Down. Drawing of rider galloping horse. Barbie Harmon, archaeologist.
We've come to the University of Nevada, Reno, and we're here behind the scenes at the Anthropology Museum. We're going to talk to Dr. Carolyn White about archaeological materials that were collected during excavations in central Nevada in the 1970s.
Dr. Carolyn White, archaeologist, University of Nevada, Reno.
What the archaeology can tell us is the sorts of things that people did when they were at the Pony Express stations. We think about the Pony Express kind of moving through the landscape, but in fact, these riders had to stop and rest and eat and relax and revitalize themselves in various ways to get back on the horse and move things along.
Stacked stone walls, Pony Express station ruins.
These are very rare excavated Pony Express sites, very ephemeral sites as it turns out, because of course the Pony Express was only around for about 19 months.
What we have in front of us here is material that was recovered from Sand Springs and Cold Springs Pony Express stations.
Dishware remnants, bones, leather fragments on table.
All of these materials were excavated in the 1970s by Dr. Don Hardesty, and he produced this volume which tells us about everything that was excavated there.
Book cover, The Pony Express in Central Nevada, archaeological and documentary perspectives.
With his team out in the field, living in tents.
Then photos of excavations.
And you can see that they've laid out their excavation units. They're screening the soil. They're excavating carefully in layers here alongside the walls of the Pony Express station at Cold Spring, carefully taking down the soil layer by layer and recovering things from within the floors.
Dr. Don Hardesty, archaeologist, interview from year 2000.
Well, an artifact can have a lot of different meanings to an archaeologist. Real artifacts can transport individuals more readily into the past than any other form. Finding, as one person put it years ago, a piece of the true cross. It transports you back in time in a way that no other source of information can do.
So here you can see the walls of the Pony Express station. They've been rebuilt post-excavation a bit. Let's take a look at these models that were made by a student. This is Sand Springs with the doorways and walls. These were some of the rooms that were later reinforced after there had been conflict at one of these sites. And then this is the model for Cold Spring, which had fewer rooms and was also a little bit more exposed on the landscape, so the walls are not as well preserved. We've got a nice array of materials recovered from these two different sites. From dishes that were used, this is a part of a ceramic plate. We also have things like buttons and other kinds of personal adornment that were recovered there. This candle holder that would have been used to illuminate the spaces inside the station, which were described as pretty gloomy and terrible by visitors. People, of course, had to eat, and they ate all kinds of animals at both of these sites, a little bit different from one to the other. And so we have a lot of animal bones that were found on both of the sites, ranging from cow to pig, goat, as well as some wild animals, including deer and cottontail and jackrabbits. So the faunal remains that we have been analyzed to really look at the different cuts of meat that people were eating. This is a beef bone, and you can see here that this has been cut. So someone, as part of the preparation for a meal, took this, probably a butcher, cut this bone to make it smaller to be able to fit in a pot to cook it for dinner. And you can see here that some of them are cut, so that would have been cut probably in the butchering process. We also have things like tin cans that held corned beef. We have sardine cans from the site, but we mostly have cans that we don't know the contents. This is the very top of a bottle, a green bottle, that could have held wine, probably.
Old drawing, drunk riders.
This was something that was not allowed by the company, but we have documentary evidence of Pony Express riders kind of falling off their horses because they were intoxicated. And the archaeological record also shows us that there was alcohol being consumed at these sites, including one kind of gin that I think is quite appropriate.
London Jockey Clubhouse Gin label.
London Jockey Clubhouse Gin.
Shows dried leather fragment.
Tack that was used to control horses and oxen. As you can see, pretty small fragmentary pieces of that, but it gives us a sense of the kinds of materials that were used to control those animals. We tend to think about the Pony Express as being this romantic period of American history.
Magazine covers of Pony Express riders.
But it really involves the ugliness of the frontier as well. We have a lot of evidence of weaponry and steps taken to protect the sites from the Paiute tribal members that lived in the area. And here we have small pieces of shot that would have been loaded into weapons. And we have some of these found in places, especially in the Sand Springs site, alongside projectile points that indicate that these might be representative of conflicts between the Paiutes and the Pony Express.
Advertisement waterproof cartridges. Drawing of Pony Express rider, battling an Indian, then photos of station ruins.
Some of the kind of windows that were used after they reinforced this wall, after the Pony Express station had come under fire by Paiutes. And here you can see just the kind of location of this in the landscape here.
Archival photos, indigenous people and Western settlers.
It really is a place where we see the landscape being settled by our colonial Western expansion and people trying to protect their land from these incursions by Western settlers. We put together the architectural evidence that we have, the evidence of what people ate, what they drank, where they slept, how they protected the Pony Express stations all together. And that's what archaeology is, pulling in the written information, the material information, and the excavated information to understand a much richer picture of life at the Pony Express stations.
Photos, 1978 excavations.
As you can imagine, a project as extensive and as wonderful as this one took a lot of funding. And that was sponsored by the Bureau of Land Management with a program that was designed to protect and stabilize cultural resources. It was directed by Don Hardesty at the University of Nevada, Reno, and we've been lucky to have these curated at the Anthropology Research Museum.
Crumbling walls, Pony Express stations.
This was a very important site in American history, but you can barely see it now. And that's true for a lot of archaeological sites. We don't really know it's there until we look carefully.
Arid landscapes, mountains, archaeologist walks past old Pony Express trail signs.
So you can travel throughout the West and not really know what you're seeing, but there is evidence of the past and of archaeological sites all around. You just have to slow down and take a close look to see what's there.
Public lands hold our shared heritage. Vandalism, graffiti, and removing artifacts are prohibited by state and federal laws. This video presented in coordination with the Bureau of Land Management, the National Trails Office, and Couts Environmental Consultants, with special thanks to the University of Nevada, Reno Anthropology Department and At One Media Services, to the Paiute, Shoshone, and Washoe peoples of Nevada, and to all the Pony Express riders and volunteers, made possible by funding from McEwen Mining, Inc.